So I heard, if I were to kind of like capture some three takeaways I heard, one was particularly why now, if we've known, like we've been doing the integration of this person-centered work with person-centered platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
For it's not brand new, right? We've been doing it. And so, but I was asking why focus on this integration now? Why is it
Mm-hmm.
becoming a big deal? And I heard you say timing.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time. I heard you say acuity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Needs being more complex and us
Mhm.
recognizing something has to bend or change. And I heard you talk about the stigma of 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 maybe old system thinking
Mm-hmm.
that kind of rolls over into today. Will you talk to me a little bit about this idea of like this whole person centered care from your lens? Like we're talking about it like people know what they're talking about. Would you define it for me and kind of talk to me? What does that mean? How do we create this whole person care that crosses between the person work and the record keeping, and how does that all connect?
I will talk about that. There's one thing that I wanted to say that that I see as um, what has accelerated the
Mm.
sort of openness, interest.
Urgency.
I would even say imperative,
Mm.
Mhm.
and that is the pandemic.
Ah.
And although this is my experience, what I think, that is a shared experience, you know, I'm so happy that we're not in lockdowns, that
Mhm.
that things are opening up again, that, um, uh, that there's this sort of moving forward. Uh, at the same time, one of the things that I've learned, in being part of behavioral health is that if we don't pause for lessons learned, then, we miss an opportunity. And I think that, you know, for the first time, you know, in modern history, were we all in the same boat together. So, I think
Yeah.
I know Tracy knows this, but I'm also a psychoanalytic psychotherapist. And so for the first time in my clinical practice, you know, I'm sitting with now online, my patients and, you know, in my life, I've got vulnerable people that I love and care about, family members and friends who are struggling, some who died. Um, and the, the pressure that this put on families who already
Right.
are under,
And the healers.
and the healers, but the in the public behavioral health realm, we are talking about families who have the greater challenge, health
Right.
Right.
disparity,
Exactly.
economic
Exactly.
disparity,
Racism.
racism, um, all the isms,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
There's
Right.
like all the
Right.
isms.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think that is what really accelerated and created maybe a bigger collective aha
Yeah.
um, around, you know, we have to do something
Sure.
different if we're going to be, successful at this. And I'm just going to put a little, bookmark to talk about AI, um, and some data that we have. Um, but I wanted to get back to your
Well,
question.
and we can flow with the conversation because I'm excited to talk about that too.
Okay.
Let's go there. Let's talk.
Okay.
AI is not Alf. It's not
Yeah.
a new cereal. It's not a new
Yeah.
app you download.
Right.
First of all, like what?
Yeah.
Tell,
Let
come
me.
on, come on.
Well, I like to, it's my nature to want to demystify and simplify
Yes.
everything,
Yes.
Um, so it stands for artificial intelligence, and it is, there have been computer programs written that everybody experiences. You talk about,
Right.
if you happen to have a smartphone, and you talk about wanting new lawn chairs, then the next time you go on to, social media.
Get your water.
Oh, thank you so much. Next time you go onto social media, you get an advertisement from, Lowe's, Home
Right.
Depot,
Magically
Right.
there.
Or in the mailbox.
in the mailbox.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it pops up on the TV.
Yeah, yeah. So that's sort of AI, from a marketing,
Business.
business marketing, capitalism, perspective. And, I find it an annoyance, because, I'm probably going to go to the thrift store to look
I
for
like
my
it when I
stuff
find
anyway.
those deals. I like it when it's like finds the deal.
Yeah,
I
you're
like
the
it.
you're the
I'm the
target
guy.
audience.
I'm the
Target
guy.
audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. You're the
Yeah.
target
I
audience.
can't help myself but to click, and I say, "Don't click, because you're gonna get more. Don't
Yeah.
click." Oh, then I click.
Yeah, then you
Yeah,
click.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Try not to click.
I know, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Don't click, don't click.
Because
And it
the
just
other
keeps
thing,
flooding.
and this is a tangent which I'm really working hard here, guys, to not do. But it's also that clicking, the accept alls.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
it's
What are you
it's
accepting?
it's creating, what is referred to as a compliance culture.
that's right.
And so I think,
That's true.
it's just sort of recognizing for ourselves that, we don't, it's okay to pause and say, do I really want to accept all? Do I really want to click? Is this my time, or am I giving my time away? So that's just my,
No, and
that's Mary the philosopher,
Right. We got into in-depth
I love
psychology
that
right now.
because
the armchair philosopher here.
but
Okay.
I love that, and maybe we come
I
on and
know.
talk about that again more, but because you're absolutely right, and I get so every time I see something that says that, and I hear all the I'll say computer people, I don't know what that means, but saying don't do it, don't do it, but I don't know what choice I have. I don't know what.
Put the
What-
phone down, Tracy.
But I mean, if I don't accept it, can I not get in and see the thing, or
Right.
oh, I want to
Well,
access
give
to all
it a
your.
try. It won't be your last chance.
Yeah,
to
I guess
find
that's
out.
true. I
Yeah.
guess
Say
that's true.
no, and
I
you
guess
can go
that's
back
true.
later.
Yeah, just give it a
Well,
try and see what happens.
Give me access to all of your photos and all your Well, I don't want you to do that. I
Yeah.
don't.
Do
Yeah.
they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah, you're right. 'Cause
They
you
have
just, you just comply.
Yeah,
You just.
yeah.
I don't
So
wanna
when you think
do that.
about artificial intelligence, AI, so a person is writing those programs,
Right. Sure.
and those
What about
those
language models?
those persons also have unconscious bias.
Sure.
So, these are human informed and programs, and AI is it's like an umbrella term, because within AI is something called predictive analytics.
Oh,
How do we, how through a computer algorithm, can we predict? So one of the, we're not there yet within the Fidelity EHR Plus platform, but how do we predict when a person, a family system, is showing indications of moving into crisis?
Right.
We're getting better.
Right.
That's predictive. There's also like protective analytics.
Okay. Okay.
So, but I like the way you're thinking, because I think that looking at, where are the, positive indicators of
Right.
Seeds of hope.
of, success, success defined by the person,
Right. Right.
I want to define mine own
Right.
success,
Sure. Sure.
like somebody else's success about me might be, for me to stop talking.
Never. Never.
So
Predictive analytics.
yeah, predictive analytics. So yeah,
Is that
protective analytics.
tell me about that.
Well, that would be like analytics that show that there's this form of predictive analytics that show all these indicators would demonstrate that this, child, youth, family, young adult is, moving in
In a
to a
green
healthy
threshold.
outcome. Yeah, moving
Moving
into a
toward.
healthy outcomes.
Huh.
And I was only say healthy and sustainable because, if it's just healthy
Sure.
outcomes and it's not sustainably healthy
Right.
outcomes, then,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. That makes sense.
How are you using it now? And how are you
so
using it?
there are, the platform based on how it is designed to support workflows of high fidelity care coordination like Wraparound, how it includes the 10 principles, family, voice, and choice,
Mhm.
climate, and culture. I don't have them memorized,
Yeah.
but I understand you have an
Strength.
acronym.
Soft pink.
Okay, yeah, soft pink.
Soft, but there's no K at the end. It's three C's.
Okay,
And that's not for me. It's for my friend in Oakland, California.
okay,
But
okay.
so strength based, outcome based, SOF. So
Uh-huh,
family, voice, and choice. T, team
uh-huh,
based.
uh-huh.
Persistence, individualized, natural supports, and then the three C's.
Right, right.
Cultural competency, collaboration, and community based.
That's brilliant.
I
Yeah.
wish I could. We used to call it. Here's just sidebar, Mary.
Uh-huh,
I used to call it pin soft CCC
uh-huh,
or soft pin CCC.
uh-huh.
And then I was at a training, and some girl was like, she was like, "You got it all wrong." And she's like, "That's soft pink," and so from there, it's been soft.
I like soft pink.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
Especially in the, the era of Barbie.
I'm just saying. Isn't that
Yeah.
today? Is that today?
It was last.
Last
It
week.
was last Friday.
What world am I in? I'm stuck in a time warp.
Well,
Yeah.
we've been working.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
I don't want to lose the essence of where we are because I
Yeah.
ran.
So um
The principles are integrated into
so the
system.
principles are integrated
How? Like, what do you mean? Like, can you
well in the
concretize
plan
that
of
for me?
care,
Okay, okay.
in the development of
Action
the
steps.
strengths and
The
goals,
goals. Yeah.
all of that in the core assessments. The big differentiator for the Fidelity platform is that it collects data that aligns with client-centered care in all regards, and you can, because it collects that kind of data, you can show through reports and through personalized feedback to
Right.
to the youth and family, sort of how their unique strengths and how their goals are being achieved. And you wouldn't be able to do that with what most electronic health records for behavioral health have been retrofitted for behavioral health. And it also doesn't support those kinds of workflows, meaning the steps that a person, a care coordinator, a facilitator,
Right.
a case manager, a
Right.
social worker, a clinician needs, would take. They have to stop and say, well, how do I get as close as I can?
Right.
Sort of like,
Or translate it
yeah, it's
into.
like when you answer a multiple choice question and you're like, well, none of these quite is
Yeah.
my answer,
Right.
but so I'll just take this one,
Right.
We don't recognize how far off course that might take the
right.
person.
Or how inaccurate that might actually
Right.
be,
And then building data on that, right?
Yeah,
Which is-
building data on
which
that.
things aren't that accurate. Yeah.
And so there's there's programs, and the only one I, know the name of and, in the most basic ways understand what it does in AI is called Random Forest. I think it's a Random Forest too. It's a program that you can write AI algorithms and then run them against data sets. So I think we're in our fourth round of a reoccurring award with the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which is in New Mexico, which is where I'm from and where we founded the company. We work with different AI computer scientists who are looking at our data to see, you know, what is it, saying with these, much more sophisticated um, algorithms about the data. And so we provided all this data to them that's across, our national network of partners in innovation. And where, the very first and most, you know, disturbing, upsetting, and unfortunately not surprising finding is that across all of our, which is, I think, including all the sites, probably about, 40 um,
Yeah.
partners,
Uh-huh.
um, that the adherence to the fidelity to
Mhm.
to
These
the
standards.
system of care, to the standards, is there across all sites. And there is where things become divergent is how successful in terms of the outcomes the recipients of services are. And that's all based on socioeconomic disparity and race. So that is information that, we provided to be used for, funding state legislature, that it's like, don't, um, we are a blame culture.
Sure.
Don't blame, the organization or the facilitator for
Yeah.
not having successful,
Mm-hmm.
outcomes. In reality, we have to fix the broader, the broader systems. And
Community.
also, no matter who you are, information is power. So, families also, it's important that they understand that you know, they may be swimming upstream in a way that's a lot more difficult than, you know, someone who isn't in an economically disadvantaged
Sure.
setting or isn't in, racial trauma, um, and those things. And, I can't say enough about the blind the blindness that we all have to some degree, and certainly at a political level, and certainly at um, a services level and an administrative level, around the reality that there are mitigating effects to having traumatization. And so, if I were king, the world would swing kind of,
Tell
statement,
me more about that. I don't think I get that.
well, is that everything that happens, even our interview time today, we would have started with some kind of, how are we being present together here and now? Should we take some deep breaths
Right.
together,
Right.
to, to the true implementation of trauma informed, care, trauma informed environments? Do we still have, like, bright lights and uncomfortable chairs and nothing to drink and all of these things that are, on an unconscious level, very triggering of, feeling unsupported, uncared for, unseen? It's a very basic thing. How do we recognize that until any one of us is in a sort of a state of stabilization, it's very difficult
Right.
to be effective in one's life.
Right. I was in a webinar last week with Dr. Bruce Perry talking about complex care,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about these service provisions that were all fidelity, quality measured, concretized, right? And he showed this longitudinal study about the sequence of timing and the imperative for us to adhere to the sequence of engagement when someone's in trauma, recognizing that the service might be great, might be the best service in the whole world, but if that person is living in their limbic system, that person is living in their fight, flight, right now I might say this stuff, right? But if they're living in that place, it doesn't matter that the service provision, because I am in survival. And you're not talking to me concretely, you're talking to my wolf, my fight, my right, all that. And so I love what I just heard, this idea that fidelity doesn't necessarily equal outcomes, but it doesn't mean that fidelity shouldn't be paid attention to.
Absolutely.
But rather, we as a broader system need to pay attention to timing, sequence, the impacts of trauma beyond the world of which we understand it, right? Anyway, I just really appreciate that, because I've seen agencies that do great fidelity, but they don't necessarily get good outcomes, or it's intermittent. And then they feel blame, or they feel guilt, or they feel like they're not doing enough, or they feel like, does this program even work? Am I right? And what I just took a deep breath of fresh air was this ideology that, like, we can do it right, and acknowledge that the timing not just might not be there yet with this family, and we as a system need to step back and look to think it may not be the agency, but rather, are we adhering to the sequence of engagement, especially if it's been a person hyper traumatized in any way.
Yeah.
Man, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I would go so far as to say, there's some core assumptions that we can make just as human beings. And that is that, to some degree or another, we're all vulnerable for being in a, in a state of traumatic stress. And certainly, there's a beautiful model I like. It's called risking connection, where recognizing for people who are entering into services, whether that's voluntary or because of some, I think here it's the DCF?
Yeah, somebody else's opinion.
Yeah, somebody else's, and not to
Sure.
Have a negative sense about that, because we have to have safety nets.
Right.
But I make a core assumption that any youth or family that is sort of has a legal reason for being required to be in some services is a family that is experiencing some degree of traumatic stress and the kinds of symptoms that brings up, that would need to be understood and stabilized for them to truly be successful in making those changes. And then I also am a firm believer that each person has their own unique skills and resources to make changes, and their interface with a system of care is to partner in,
their journey,
in enhancing that and discovering and enhancing that, But I think that, the missing link from my perspective is stabilization, and it's also the missing link to keep burnout from happening on the part of the the helpers, both the natural ones and the professionally trained ones. We will burn out without self-care and stabilization and knowing how to care for each other.
I didn't know we were going to go so deep today.
What can I say? Like I said,
Oh, well,
as I become more seasoned, I become more, sort of more philosophical.
I'm loving it. You don't even know.
Absolutely.
We were just talking about we're both. I'm gonna go back to school and in-depth psychology. Like I'm going. Joseph Campbell, Carly. I'm going.
You're
I
going.
don't know when, I don't know how, but somebody's gonna pay for it. Anyways, uh, why don't take just a minute to talk about the future? Or if you were to make some predictions right now, if we got things closer, better, right? What would be like one or two, three predictions in the next 10, 20 years of, I mean, just
The
take,
future
of this, of what we're
of
doing.
what we're doing.
Yeah, of helping our families that are in
Well,
complex situations.
I am. I'm natural born optimist, and my career has been in the field of mental health and integrated behavioral health and medical care, and I think that um, we are moving in a positive direction, and I think we've had some big catalysts to help us get there, and you know, we have some people who have become, you know, who have been sacrificed for us to get there. George Floyd being one of them. So I think we have reason to be optimistic and hopeful. That there's also I have a lot of optimism because of technology. I mean, I was
Yeah.
down on the
Yeah.
marketing algorithms, but also there's never been another time in the history of the world that information could be shared so quickly.
Right.
And again, I think there's a huge challenge around the discernment of information and how vulnerable we are to doubting ourselves just because somebody asks us a question, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a point where it's important both in the field of behavioral health to really authorize ourselves and the youth and families that we work with to be confident in their own choices and decisions about things. And so I'm very optimistic. Um, and I think every day, any single person, you know, is positive and encouraging and feels that they can use their voice, whether that's with your administrative staff or with, you know, whoever it
TikTok
is.
channel.
Your TikTok, yeah. um, Whatever it is, I think it's all going to move us in the right direction and in that collectiveness of it. I mean, I am from Santa Fe, New Mexico, so you can call it woo woo or metaphysics or whatever you want. But yeah, I believe there's reason to be hopeful.
I love it.
I love it.
Well, I mean, I don't know how. Are we? I was just thinking, are we like, can I hug on camera? Is that our goodbye?
Let's have a hug.
I'm saying like, I really, really, really appreciate your time and your perspective. Like the way. Well, I don't know how it'll work. If you want to give hugs too, Trace.
I always want to hug.
That's what I'm saying. That might be our thing on our show. We're gonna give out hugs on camera. It might be. It might be a
That's
thing.
fine. Yeah, I believe in hugging.
So I really appreciate it. You want to give us an outro?
No, I think we're so grateful for you, Mary, and talking about
I'm
sharing
so
your
grateful
experience.
for you all too.
It's just been a real pleasure. So
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time and coming, and keep doing really great work.
Where can we learn about?
Same to the both of you. And if there's anything I can leave you all with that's come from being a little more seasoned than you both are, and that is at some point, if it's not a mutual admiration club, then you don't want to be a member of it.
Amen. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I'm just chewing on what you just said. I'm letting it sit for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm pausing and
That's
letting
a mic
it
drop.
sit. I
That's a
needed to
mic
hear
drop.
that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that if people are curious and want to learn more information, Fidelity EHR or just your work or where do they go?
Well, Fidelity EHR has a website if you if you search for it. Um, and you can learn about it there. There's a phone number there. Um, we have a LinkedIn. I think I have a personal LinkedIn that needs a bit of updating, So,
All right.
yeah, I've got some big, sort of big, sort of personal professional missions, especially around, I specialize in the treatment of traumatic stress and worked with a lot of military folks and different kinds of ways like that. So I don't know, maybe you'll have me back
Maybe.
again.
I think we
I'd
will.
love it. Yes,
I was just thinking
absolutely.
about, we used Wraparound in San Diego with our family members returning home,
Mm-hmm.
and we would take them, 6 months sometimes on a sabbatical rat retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, it sounds like another podcast discussion, right, Trace?
Definitely.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much, and
Well,
we'll have
I
you
love
again.
you guys.
I definitely love you too, Mary. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you for
All
having me.
right.
Mary.